Hey everybody, it's Craig Syracusa, Walk in Faith. I'm extremely excited to be sitting down with Eddie Silverio, who is the Director of Youth Services for Catholic Charities Community Service in the Archdiocese. Eddie, I read every blog post, every article I can get my hands on, and it really touched me a lot. But in case people are not familiar with Catholic Charities, or, you're the Director of Youth Services for Catholic Charities Charity Community Outreach, can you tell us a little bit about what you do, and especially during these uncertain times?
So I run what's called the Alianza Division of Youth Services for Catholic Charities, which operates 16 different programs in Washington Heights, Harlem, the Inwood section, and the Hybrid section of the Bronx. And we provide services to young people throughout the city. And we have programming from K to 12, and we do have in-school program and after-school program and weekend programming. Prior to the pandemic, we had a healthy program, close to 5,000 young people daily being served. Reach close to 15,000 young people annually. And these are multiple services from after school, homework help, drop-off prevention, college readiness, career work, everything. We employ 2,000 young people during the summer. Pandemic hits, reality hits. The first thing they do is that they're gonna suspend the summer youth employment jobs. So we have already pre-registered close to 3,000 young people to apply for 2,000 positions. So we gotta inform them that they're gonna have a job. Then I have to transfer staff. At that same time, we started doing wellness calls because we wanted to just make sure our families were okay, because we were hearing all these stories of people passing away, people being hospitalized. So we just wanted to connect with our families, and our team got together, and each one of the cohorts called families. And in the first 2 weeks, it was just helping families make sense of what this virtual classes look like. So we're engaging them and saying, okay, and we were helping them. We actually were calling the cable companies to make sure that they would deliver them the product, make sure they got installed correct. Then third week, we start hearing, look, is it possible, do you have a pantry? We need food, we need this, eviction prevention, right? So a lot of people, even though the governor passed a law about the eviction rate, the thing is that you have people that were not catching up to rent prior to this. So then this just exacerbates the situation. So we have to deal with that as well. And then one of the things, and as we make calls, we forgot that we have families, 22%, almost at every school building that we're in, between 22 to 24% of our families are what are called transitional housing. So it's either in the shelter system, living in multiplied in like three families into one apartment, or staying with a relative. So that's 22% of families. You calculate that's close to 600 families that we're dealing with. We also have, in our community, it's common that families rent out a room, not an apartment, but a room. And they sublet that room, and there's 3 or 4 people in one room, sharing a bathroom, sharing a kitchen. So, so imagine that. Now you have to have them do virtual classes in that room. Everybody's staying sheltered in. It's really difficult. So we started engaging those families, calling them and talking to them, to a point where parents were thanking us. Oh, thank you for getting on the phone with my daughter, because we didn't know what she was going to do. We're not letting her out. She's in the room in a corner. So this is real. I think that a lot of people don't realize what's happening when you look. And I peeled the onion and gave you a specific case. But I think that that's happening in multiple times. And now by the 4th, 5th week, now we're seeing issues. We don't have the data for it yet, but of domestic violence, because folks are not used to being in a confined space all this time. So that's also coming about. But I think now, 7th and 8th week, we're still seeing virtual classes issues. We're still seeing employment, right? The number one thing is employment. I have young people that are not taking virtual classes and are applying to work in these retail stores that are open, so they can put some money on the table because they're trying to help their family. So, we're going to see the results of this pandemic is going to be seen later on in September and October, when we so-called resume to normalcy and kids are not going back to school because they're employed. And money is the key thing right now. It's not going to be the education. And those are the things that we as a service community, as Catholic Charities, have to figure out, how do we balance that where the young person can still continue their education and also be able to provide for their family.
You've said so many things, and number one, like I said, I live in New Jersey. My life is completely different even the people I speak with, I've spoken to pastors around the country, around the world, and their lives are very different. When I read the articles, I couldn't relate to it at all. But a couple of things you mentioned, like, they have Wi-Fi. Like when they put in the action the virtual training, they just assume that kids are in a nice house and they have the ability to plug into Wi-Fi and they're able to just, do virtual classes. But that's not the case. So number one, or even do they have tablets? So all of these things that you mentioned, Wi-Fi, tablets, and then also you mentioned in one of the articles about breaking the cycle. Kids need, right? They need to, whether it's get a job, or if they're looking for any excuse not to go to school, or maybe they're homeless, they're living in a shelter. This pandemic now is sort of allowing them not to break that cycle. Because like you said, they might get a job, they might not go back to school. This is going to have such a lasting effect on them way beyond the pandemic. I mean, I know you said that you're looking for ways, in Catholic Charities are looking for ways to sort of counter that, but what could you do? How do you, work against this so they don't wind up a statistic?
Right. And the thing is, I feel that our wellness cause is one of the most consistent things that we've been able to do. So on a daily basis, just to give you an example, they will be in school and then one of my dropout prevention programs, they will have a contact at least maybe once or twice a week with their advisor scheduled. And then on the day, if they see them in the hallway, see them in the classroom, there'll be some form of contact. But now, because they're home and we're home, we're making calls on a consistent basis, so we're communicating them with them more consistently. And I think what's important with this is, like, I'll give you an example. I have a family that lives an hour and a half from my office, and we were giving our support. We gave out a certain amount of money to support the families. And this lady came with her son, an hour and a half on the train. We were early. So I asked her, "How's your son doing?" Who's my student? He goes, "Oh, he's working, Mrs. Silverio. I have him working from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening with his uncle because they had a job in one of the construction sites." And so, okay. And she says,
how old's the kid?
and he's 18. So thank God he's 18. So he got his OSHA, he got his 8 hours of OSHA. So he was able to get an entry level position. And I think that we have to now make sure we engage him and tell him, look, when we know money's good, and we know that between now until September when we return to classes, you're going to do this, but we got to figure out a plan how you continue to do both, because you can't take away one thing to help you with the other. And they understood it. I think that we're going to have to do a lot more with less. And with that said, it's really making sure that we energize our staff, that we give the staff the support to ensure that they could continue to do this guidance. So think about it right now. So if you go on unemployment, with the stimulus bonus that they're giving people, some people are making $1,100 a week. They never saw that. As a part-time worker, as a minimum wage worker, they were not making that money. So some folks that do the quick math are going to say, hey, I'm going to stay on unemployment until I can. That's not the right approach. I really feel go back to employment. As soon as you're able to get a job, go get that job, because when the unemployment runs out, it's going to run out for you and the X other millions of people that signed up at the same time you did. And then you're all going to be competing for the same job. So I think we have to give that guidance to folks. We have to be that triage to really give them a breakdown of what really happened. I think sometimes people make quick decisions and no one wants to go out, right? Let's be honest. And people say, hey, if I could make $1,100 when I was really only bringing in $600 a week, I'm going to take advantage of that. And I think, I'm not saying it's wrong what the government did. I just feel that we have to now try to help people make sense of this and make sure that they go bounce back on their feet. Because I think that there's a lot happening right now, and folks are just scared and they're hunkering down. And then you have a group of people that just want to be outside. It's just, so you got to know how to balance it. I tell people, I can't get into arguments with people if they don't want to put a mask on, if they don't want, but I could just give them that guidance. And, and I've gotten the stares like, who are you? Are you the mask police? And I'm trying to protect you. So I think we have a lot of challenges. I think, my staff, I meet with my staff on a daily basis, and they always like, go ahead, but this is what's happening. And they have staff that live in these same communities. So they can't walk away from this issue, because when they're going home, hey, what's happening? When they leave their apartment, hey, how you doing? What's happening? They go to the laundromat. Hey, so we have staff that are on the ground, because, fortunately, our staff live in the communities that they serve. And so they have a big challenge. And I, you know, I hope everybody prays for my team. That when folks talk about essential workers, no one talks about the nonprofit sector. No one talks about the social workers. No one talks about the after-school tutors. I mean, I have tutors right now that are doing three things at the same time. They're packing bags for a pantry. They're doing virtual support in the afternoon with their students. And on top of that, they're supporting some form of one of our recreational centers, which is really childcare for those first responders. So when you hear the word, it's regional enrichment center, we call them rec centers, but they're not, and they're doing education stuff. So there's a lot happening, and our workforce of 189 folks are working. We have some working remote, we have some working on the ground. Right now I have 40 or staff manning a pantry for 600 people. And people were on the line since 6 in the morning. I have a picture, one of my staff, who's the director of a rec center, as he's leaving his house, took a picture and said, Ed, they're already outside. And they was already around the corner.
I saw one that was about a mile long. I saw
yeah.
Have you, I mean, obviously it's a yes, but have you seen an increase in, you know, new families and people that are looking for food and guidance?
Yeah, so I can tell you, so right now we have 1,200 new pantry members in the last 3 weeks that have come every Thursday and registered. So what we do is that we have tablets or our phones, and we register the folks so they could get the meal. We try to do one meal a month. You know, some folks come back, but they forget that they register. So if we have it in the system, we can't. But it's just a process, and we're educating, teaching them, and working with them. I think giving guidance. Today I saw a mother and a daughter, and they just were like, could we get this? We just walked in. Somebody said, yeah, just get on the line. You have to give this information, and we'll get someone to work with you. And that's what it is. It's really giving folks an opportunity. And if they want to get on the line, it lasts an hour to 2 hours, so they could get a pantry bag or 2 pantry bags. You got to do that. And the need is real. Like I could tell you that prior to this, I was asking our team to put a pantry in every school. And now we're seeing that we're gonna have to institute these type of pantries for at least emergency meals. I see young men in their early 30s who are professionals who get on the line. They say, look, I'm off right now. All I have is enough to pay my rent, so I'm trying to figure this out. And if I could get rice and a fruit or vegetable from you guys, I'll get on this line. So it's really impacting everyone. It's not just families or seniors or families with children. We even have young professionals that are getting on these lines because there's a food insecurity, unfortunately.
So what happens now when life gets back to the new normal? How do you sustain this? Are you able to sustain this?
So that's the thing, right? So I know that a lot of people have been supporting pantries because they've seen the lines, they see the need, and you're right. Are we going to be able to sustain this? I want to say yes. I want to say that we're seeing the good in people. We're seeing people that are donating. We're seeing people that are bringing in food. So you're seeing the good in people. You're seeing the bad in people as well. But I think the good is going to outweigh the bad. And we have to believe in that. And I think you said something very important. We have to create what this new world looks like. It's going to be an opportunity to do right by people. Mm-hmm. And the truth is that that's what we need. We need everyone from the industries, the corporations, the churches, the schools. Everybody has to look at what is the good that we could do. Forget how we did it. Forget the mistakes in the past. Let's move forward. This is an opportunity to do better, to do more, and to be greater. And I think that's the energy that we have to put it in. But forget the negative. Let's not work on the negative. Let's work on the positive. Because our communities need it. You're going to have to deal with children that lost their grandparents in their apartment. Mm-hmm. And that they had to see a person in a hazmat suit go clean that room. Oh my God. That is not something that's normal. That is not something that child is going to forget. And we have to prepare for that. We also have to prepare that we've sheltered in some folks that have not left since March 15, have not left their apartment. I know folks, and we call them. Like I said, we try to do calls twice a week to ensure that our families are connected to us. Sometimes we do daily, depending on the need. But we have to. Someone says interesting that it's not called. It shouldn't be social distancing. It should be called space distancing because we have to be more social now than ever. It's the other way around. So we shouldn't be socially distant. We should be space distance, but we socially aware. Because I think that more than ever is that people need to get that call from you and say, hey, how you doing? How's it going? You know, are you able to feed your family, right? And I think we need this now more than ever. And then now the technology, like this
Yeah,
interview.
I know. It's amazing.
I've been to more birthday parties. I'm gonna just give you a little personal thing. More birthday parties in this past 6 weeks that I've been in the last year, because everybody's doing things to Zoom, right? So you have birthday parties, and I think that's important that we're still staying connected. And I think that we have to. You said something very important. We have prior to this, we had maybe 30% of our children that were disconnected, that didn't have Wi-Fi at home, that didn't have tablets, and thanks to the DOE and us, so we should say we were able to give out 200 tablets to our participants that we have purchased for an event that we were going to do in the summer. And it just happened to be here. And we say, hey, we're going to share them with our parents. And once the students got the one from the OE, they returned our tablets. But there's still students, just to give you an example, that if it's 3 children in a household, now every school was able to get them that curriculum. So we're able to support those families, because that's a big issue. And the other thing that we're learning as we speak to some of our teachers and principals is that they're educating parents. The parents are the ones sitting with a teacher for half an hour versus a child, just to get the parents to understand the homework and the assignments. So, you know, we're learning, we're growing. I think that we're going to have to look at what's going to be important to us, right? I think shelter is the most important, right? Shelter, food, our health, employment, and then unfortunately education falls into 5th and 6th, but it's still important. It's still a vital need in any child's life. But you got to give them these 4 other things, and mental health.
Exactly.
I think that's the one thing that we have to figure out. How do we reconnect our children to our cities and to our communities?
That was my next question. How are the schools preparing for this transition? Because like you said, they've been home. I have a friend that lost 5 family members in a week. How do you transition back? You know, the first week he was fine, the stages of grief. And now he's, having real difficulties. How do you transition back to that? And I don't know if the schools are ready. I pray, and this is an opportunity, like you said, for the church to really step up. And the one thing that came to mind before you go is what we all need to do, and I think that this is what's happening, is we need to forget about the past. We need to forgive people, really see what's truly important, and it's live a selfless life, not a selfish life that a lot of us, including probably myself, live. This is the time for the church and for all of us to step up and to show us how much we love and we care for humanity, and put our differences aside. And Eddie, you are doing that on a daily basis. You are, and I don't just say this, but you're doing God's work. I've heard that term a million times, but you really are. And I hope we have more time. I know you have to run to just sit and chat, because what you're doing is really inspiring. So if there's one thing that you hope people could walk away with from this quick conversation, whether it's the website or just a word of hope, what would it be?
I think you got to do your part. At the end of the day, you have to do your part. Even if you're a person in need, if you could go and say, hey, I'm willing to volunteer, and when I leave, you give me a bag of pantry, that's your gift. And I think that we have to open our doors and we have to give back. I really do believe that this is the time to be different and be positively different. And I want to say, you said it, those of us are seeking God now, right? Everyone is praying. Everyone is communicating. And I think with that energy is that, remember, you have to do. At the end of the day, you could pray to God and God will provide, but you have to still do your part. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the number one thing as human beings, that we have to do our part. And we have to stay away from don't blame anyone. Don't blame, and concentrate on what you could do to make your family better, yourself better, and maintain healthy. I mean, I can't tell you how important it is for us to start taking care of ourselves mentally and physically. And of course, and spiritually as well.
Wow, thank you.
I'm not a church-going person, but I could tell you that I see the magic of God every day. And I want to I want to say thank you to my staff. I mean, these young men and women and my daughter have been incredible. I've had staff that have not stopped working since day one, that have gone into different neighborhoods. I have people that are delivering food to people. I have people that are calling on their own people, where they just say, "Hey, I haven't heard from you. What's going on?" So we just have to do our part. And thank you for giving me this platform, this opportunity. And I hope anyone that listens, the most important thing is look in your local neighborhood. I mean, you know, there's so many different ways to support. Your churches are a good place to start. Your schools are a good place to start. But your family is most importantly where you have to start.
And Kat, do you have a website you could share with us quickly before you run?
Yes, it's www.catholiccharities.org.
Thank you, Eddie.
And
sorry, as you were saying.
No, that's it. That's it. I was gonna try to give you the 1-800 number, but I don't remember it.
Oh. Listen, like Eddie said, we can all do our part. We all need to do our part. Praying is not enough. There are no excuses. Eddie, it's an honor to meet you, and I look forward to speaking with you again. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Always remember, you have the ability to inspire and evangelize through words and actions. God bless you, Eddie.
All right, take care, brother.